Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Deal Fishing Podcast. I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
And it's Hervey. CatCon
And it's Hervey.
Hervey.
We kind of set him up for the okie doke for
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, we should have
That
told
was
you.
I'll get you back in Kansas. Don't you worry. I've got a couple of months to plan that.
Yeah. Well, everyone, we're so happy that you've decided to listen, and we're public here on YouTube tonight. So, everybody who's coming in the chat, we appreciate you as well. I just want to take this opportunity to thank everybody again that's listening. If you want to support the Real Deal Fishing Podcast, you can go over to our website, shoppalmettocats.com, and you can pick up some merch. And everything you purchase will go directly back into making the podcast better, which we always try to get better and do things better every time we do it. But y'all, we're here to talk about the Catfish Conference in Louisville, Kentucky this past weekend. I was there, Mike Murillo was there, and of course, Hervey, co-owner of Catfish Conference, was there.
I don't think I was there. I don't remember.
You were cited as being present.
At dinner, specifically, yes.
But yeah, so our wallets are empty. Well, at least mine was empty because I found so many cool things that I wanted to buy, and so many things I actually didn't have time to go pick up. Imagine that. I got home and I was talking to Mike and about the reels that I got and everything, and I was rigging up, before the show for this weekend. I'm going to go fishing. And I was thinking, man, I should have grabbed some demon dragons. I should have grabbed some more hooks. I should have grabbed this. I should have done this, and I just didn't have the time because we were going full blast the whole time. We got a super chat already. Thank you, Fracture Fix, for the 1999. Boom, boom, boom. Thank you.
There
He
we
said,
go.
or you can do this. Thanks a lot, and thank you to Fracture Fix again. He donated during the Golden Whiskers, which we'll get to as well. So yeah, we had a great time. Of course, Hervey and Steve are the masterminds behind the Catfish Conference. And how do you think this year, this main Catfish Conference, the OG Catfish Conference, stacked up against previous Catfish conferences? Like, do you have some stats for us?
I do have some stats for you
Ooh.
guys. It's very crunchy. So it's the best edition we ever had. It's record attendance. It's probably the most vendors, exhibitors we had. And I think overall it was probably the best on a human level because after 2 years almost 2 years, I guess, of not having a catfish conference, the main thing we heard from people was they were just happy to be able to get back out, with caution, of course, but they were happy to get back and just like meet the big catfish family that they had not seen for years. So that was the best feeling for everybody that was there, and you guys were there, so I'm sure you've heard a lot of things.
Yeah, so Hervey, before we go on to that, how many tickets did you sell?
Yeah, so we had about 4,700 tickets sold, and that's not including children. So add on top of that. So we will only count
4,700.
adults.
Wow.
And what's interesting as well, we had 260 vendor passes. And, we always forget or vendors, it's not really elegant, really, but they are there and, they have the same passion like everybody else, and they are part of the conference, and they come up with an entire team. And so I think we have to recognize all their efforts. It's not just about selling stuff. It's about moving everybody, taking their, the time off and participating, being a part of the conference and the attendance. It's very important. I mean, that's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. So, Mike, being it was our second conference, but it was our first OG conference, and so our first conference together was the Kansas City one, and that was the first one ever. How do you feel like this one stacked up against that Kansas City one?
It's very different. So Kansas City was our first one, and we had to take the decision kind of not in a rush, but we decided enough is enough. We have to do something, and we kind of put that about 3 months after we took the decision, and it's short. It's very very short amount of time to plan everything, to get everybody ready, but especially to gather a crowd, because it's not just about you buy some ads randomly on the internet and then people show up. Catfishing is very specific. It's very engaged. It's a community, and I think everybody understood out there that you don't create a community overnight. It's a lot of time, some passion, some engagement, and so it took us a second to put everybody together and start getting folks around. So overall, I mean, it was great, and I think we had some great moments. We were able to connect with a lot of people out there, vendors, but the YouTube community as well, and just like new guys that are just not used to the event in the West, and we really had some great a great time. So they're not really comparable. Perhaps in size, they're coming kind of close, but not in terms of vendors.
Right.
And again, we have to remember it was full on what was Delta variant at the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of the vendors we were supposed to have, or we had, their inventory was floating somewhere on a boat in front of Los Angeles, and they were there, but it was just them, right? I mean, and big names take, I think it was Catch the Fever. They couldn't be there, although they wanted to, just because they didn't have their stuff, and so that
just different. Mike, like I was saying earlier, like this was our first OG one. We kind of talked about after Kansas City. You and I talked about Kansas City and our thoughts about that. How did this one compare to you, Mike?
Very different. 3 times the distance for me to cover,
True.
and I am not a fan of airplanes. I'm a fan of driving my truck somewhere. That way I can buy whatever I want, put it in the back of the truck. And this time I also heard that someone was giving away or raffling away a boat. So I figured I needed to take my truck with my trailer hitch hooked up, so that way I'd be ready to haul off whatever it was that whomever was going to give away. And sure enough, that was a bit of foreshadowing, and it happened. But as far as the conference went in Kansas City, I remembered the 3 of us were walking down the streets with 14 of our friends.
That was
trying
fun.
to find a place to eat, and we wanted to make sure that the place had a menu that would take care of everybody in our party. And that was a blast. And this one was so big that you literally had to try to break your meal down to maybe 5 to 10 people.
Yeah.
Because you just couldn't possibly fit everybody. I mean, it was a lot. And I tried to write down every YouTuber that I encountered or whomever came up and said hello to me, and I filled 2 sides of an index card so quickly. And then after that, I'm like, I'm wasting my opportunity here to talk to people. And then some people caught me off guard. Keith was actually one of them. He walked right up to me and he's like, "Let me tell you about this idea that I've been kicking around." I'm like, "Whoa!" I was
Today,
like,
I'm gonna tell
me.
you.
And Dieter did the same thing. He walked right up, "Michael, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Whoa," And so you have those fanboy moments, and then you have other just great experiences with all these fantastic people.
Yeah.
And some you didn't have a lot of time with. And oddly, I will say that I felt like I didn't get a lot of time there with you, Kevin.
Yeah.
But when we did check in with each other, it was like, "How's it going?" You good? You good? And we knew it.
Yeah.
We had conjoining rooms, and I guarantee I spent more time with Art or Danny Stone, Hill Jack. Obviously, my sister was with me, and I spent a lot of time with her. And Bexy and Vonnie. It was so much fun. Met so many. I couldn't believe the compliments, the complimentary conversation, just the positive vibe. It was insane. Uncle Jeep
Yeah.
walked right up to me with the Jeep hat on, and he's like,
Everybody
"Know
knew
who
who
I am?"
Uncle
I'm
Jeep
like,
was.
I didn't know who he was. I'm the guy who didn't look at the hat.
Well, I had seen a picture of Uncle Jeep because he went fishing with Chris Flores, and Flores didn't know that Jeep knew who I was. And so when he showed up wearing my shirt, Chris took a picture of him and sent it to me. I said, "Well, who's that?" He goes, "Recognize this guy?" And I said, "No." He goes, "That's Uncle Jeep." I was like, "Oh, cool." So when he showed up at the conference, I was just so excited. And Jeep, I told him there. So this isn't anything that he hasn't heard before. I told him at the conference we had a nice moment together where I said, he said that we all meant a lot to him, and I said, "You don't know how much you mean to us, the YouTubers I'm talking about." And those of you who don't know what we're talking about on the podcast, um, there's a guy with the handle Uncle Jeep, and his avatar is the three-eyed fish from The Simpsons, the mutant fish. If you all
Yeah.
remember that episode, so he's going to be funny right off the bat, right?
Right.
And you can relate to him, if you're of a certain age. But we had a talk, and I said, "You don't realize how much of a blessing you are for all of us." And I hope that he took that, as a heartfelt, like really, really heartfelt message. And I know I speak for everybody that's in here and not in here when I say that that's true. But yeah, he brought donuts, and I didn't get to taste the donuts, but
With
yeah, Mike.
bacon on them. The
No.
maple donuts with the bacon on them.
It's the best.
So I'm sitting there at the Golden Whiskers, right, and I'm focused, laser like, trying not to have an accident, and I'll leave that part out. And then trying to also, run the Golden Whiskers, and I look down, and what do I see? But Jeep with his legs crossed, leaned back in the chair in the front row, eating bacon. Oh, so seductively, and I almost lose it. It was hilarious. But yeah, Mike said that, we didn't get to hang out much, just, we're working and running around and trying to make sure everybody's happy. And, I think one of my jobs is just to support Hervé and Steve so they don't have to run around as much. But still a great time.
But that's something. Let's pick up on what Mike said. He just mentioned the level of good vibe you have at the event, and we all have experienced the event. I mean, we're organizing it, so of course we see that. But for people that have not been there or just they're on YouTube, they just get to see what happened on YouTube. One thing that I don't feel transcribes well for the event is that vibe. You get there, and that's where I get happy personally at the event, is when you see like everybody get together and everybody's so like happy. It's like the family is back together once again, and it's very, very hard to transcribe that, what's actually happening, the connection between people, and the rest doesn't matter. I mean, you have all the stuff, the gear, but the real core, the real soul of the event is not about the product. It's about the passion, and it's about the people, and really the people. And I think the YouTube community plays an immense role in conveying that message and in offering basically the opportunity to other people. And I don't know what you all thought about that, and if you were able to see that at the event. But
oh yeah,
from our perspective, it's strong, and truly, it's perhaps why Steve and I would keep doing all of that. Because some days we're like, we're done. We have enough. We walked enough today. We want to do something else. But then you just like go back for a second when you calm down and just think about that, and you look back at it, and you're like, no, this is 1,000% worth it. We've got to do it again.
Yeah. I told Anna and I told Mike. I said, why can't we just do this for a living? Like, why can't something pay us to do this? Some force of nature just pay us to hang out with our friends. But I think, obviously that's unrealistic. Part of the part of the allure of going there is because we don't get to see each other all the time, and I think the excitement. Let's talk about the YouTubers for example. There was a bunch of them there, like Mike and Hervé mentioned. And I think the all the electricity and the excitement that led up to CatCon Louisville was kind of instigated by the YouTubers. What do you think about that, Mike?
I think that's fair to say. One thing that Trish was asking me while we were there is, how is this promoted? Is it promoted on, commercials? Are the commercials on TV? Are they on radio? Are they on, just
Mhm.
local channels there in Louisville? Obviously, it's on the website. There's Facebook presence. There's YouTube presence for Catfish Conference, and of course, Hervey could tell us all about all the details. And all I could tell Trish was, I don't know. We just all know about it, and we focus on it, and we try to make sure that we know exactly when it is, and we're all going to try to make it here if we can. I mean, Uncle Jeep is from Arizona, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And there were people there from California, and I think that somebody said a YouTuber was in from the state of Washington,
Mhm.
because I'm complaining about my, 10 and a half hour drive through winter conditions. And they're like, whatever, dude, this guy flew clear across the whole country.
Mhm.
And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, and, landed in monsoon rains. I'm like, okay,
Him
so
and Fishing Chick.
yeah, yeah, Fish and Chick as well. Even even Kevin's drive is equally as long as mine is. And uh he had to drive it because he had a trunk full of awards and equipment and such. And me, I just wanted to buy more fishing rods and win a boat. And Trish won the boat. So
She sure did.
It's
Tell us
worth it.
about so if the boat thing for those of you who are listening and you really don't know what Mike's talking about. So Muddy River catfishing, Chris Flores, who's in the chat, he says he's still not home. He was fishing out in Alabama with Steve Douglas and Dave today. Um, Another person that drove clear across the country to be there, New Mexico, but he had an inflatable pontoon boat that he'd had for a while, and so he put it up for auction. And Mike, how did he do that auction? Like, was there tickets or?
yeah, it was a raffle,
Mm.
and it was $20 a ticket. And they I don't know how many tickets they sold. I guarantee they probably didn't sell enough to cover the pure cost of the item.
Mm.
But it's a fantastic little pontoon boat. And hopefully she won't take this personally, but Bexy said that it was intended to be a Potomac River dance floor, and sadly it made its way to Iowa, where it will be a lake, pond, and river fishing machine, probably as it was intended when it was built. But it's a fantastic, I think it's aluminum dance floor, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
fishing floor, pontoon, and got monster rod holders on it, and a gorgeous monster rod holders cutting board. Trish said she walked up to the Muddy River catfishing booth, said that she was buying the winning ticket, and the team members there stated that they remembered her positivity and her sincerity and just ferocity, just passion.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
A
uh,
lot of adjectives you
and I
threw
think it
out
was
there.
Fran who went around and said, "You know what? That's why you lost, because you didn't believe in it like she did." And she went around and just served these people up, because
That's funny.
everybody cheers at first, and then after that, it's like, golly, I wanted that boat. And the sad part to me was that Trish was not there to win it for herself.
Mm-hmm.
She handed me the ticket. She said, "I'm going back to the hotel. I'm going to take a nap, and I'll come back.
Yes.
Go win my boat and win that boat for me." She's like, "Here's my ticket," and
And you
and
did.
she reminded me it was hers. Now, I can't swim, guys, so anybody else can have a boat. I'm all for it. I don't want a boat. And sure enough, I stood by Evan at the Monster Rod Holders, and he was talking about how he was going to win it. That's his boat. Then he started talking about what bad luck he has and how he doesn't ever win anything. So I was like, I'm going to go stand
didn't
over here away
believe.
from you.
He
I
didn't
said, I'm going to
believe.
take my bad luck away from you so you can win. He said, nope, you're going to win. I'm the one with the bad luck. I'm like, okay. I was like, I at that point, I couldn't determine if he was the stick in the mud or the mud, but I was leaning towards the mud. So I walked away and I sat next to a delightful couple who are nothing but positivity, and that's Chris and Telly of Hooks and Hammocks. And we showed each other our numbers. The only difference was the last digit. And sure enough, they're reading off all the digits one by one. And I did give the ticket back to Trish because I think she's going to
Frame it or something. Or
mount
just you
it
put it on the boat.
to the boat since it was the lucky ticket. And
Mhm.
so we're just ticking off these numbers one by one by one. We get down to the last number. Last number on the winning ticket was 1. And that's what Chris said. And I looked at it, and then I turned over, and they're like, that's you. And he's like, okay, if nobody's here and doesn't have that ticket number, then we're going to draw again. So I just held my hand up so that way everybody would see, the 6-foot guy holding his hand up in the air with a ticket.
And Mike, I actually have a video file.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. Now, before you play it, if you're going to play it,
It won't let me. Dang
I
it.
turned around or I turned and I looked forward, and Has looked right at me, and he's like, Murillo, and he's like, I could see it on his face. He's like, nah. And I just kept shaking my head yes. And I was walking to the front holding up the ticket. And afterwards, he's like, man, I thought you were trolling us. People always like, hey, I won. No, I'm just kidding. I never write ticket. But no, that was her number. And after I went up there and explained to everybody, they're like, way to go. Congratulations, Mom. I was like, it's not mine. This is my sister's ticket. And then people start cheering for me. Oh, what a great brother. He's giving his sister the boat. I'm like, no, that's not what it is. She's going to
No, it's
beat me.
actually
It was
not
my
mine.
sister's.
Creating this fiction. I was like, no. I was like, this is her ticket. She went back to the hotel. She was shuttling over.
Now,
She's like, I'll shuttle back over. And
what did she go to do, Mike?
she went to take a nap. She was
A
tired.
nap.
Can you imagine if you got to take a nap in the middle of each day of CatCon, Kevin?
I was
You
too
heard
excited.
it? Can you imagine it? If you got to take like an hour nap, let's just say an hour because it's a round number. You think you'd be more refreshed for the rest of the day?
But you know what? That's a
So,
great idea. I think we should perhaps have a nap corner at Catfish
Like an
Conference and
intermission?
install like either some little beds or some hammocks and figure something out. That would be cool.
Yes, Hervé, I've been contacted. I need to discuss some ideas with you. Maybe we'll have a little bit more space, or we can shuffle some people around, or something like that. But yeah, the YouTube community has reached out. We have some
Perfect.
ideas. It's not like a list of demands. It's more like a list of wants.
Well, here's a short
how many
clip
pages?
of Michael Murillo accepting the boat.
Wow, that's great.
Sauntering up slowly.
My sister bought this ticket. She went back to the hotel to take a nap, and she said, "You go win that boat."
She said, "You go win that boat."
And he did. So does it also work with like lottery tickets? Like if we delegate the lottery ticket to you, can you also go and redeem like something of a different nature?
I don't know.
I
You'll have to test it out.
I think we should try. I really think we should try.
We should try to win the lotto, because then Kevin's and my dream will come true, and we can do this full time.
We could do the Catfish Conference fund and then, fund everybody's ambition. Yeah, there we go.
Chris Flores said that his trailer is available for nap rentals. There you go, another source of revenue right there.
Uncle Jeep says we need to bring in a bacon vendor.
I agree.
There was the pork association over there. What else did he want?
Yeah, Mr. Douglas in the house. I wonder if they caught any fish today. I know there was a lot of singing and shenanigans on the boat, but I don't know if they actually caught any fish. So the Catfish Conference for Louisville is already, the dates have already been set, everybody. So they're scrolling across the bottom, February 24th and 25th, CatCon 2023. So go ahead and request off. Request off for those dates. Go ahead and take a whole week off. I'm going to say it's okay. Go ahead and take a whole week off.
And very
come
solid
hang out.
shoes.
Yeah, get some really good shoes. So what was the highlight? You know, I have a highlight in my head. What's the highlight for you, Hervé, of this year's CatCon?
I think I was really shocked on Friday morning to see the crowd that was waiting at 9 o'clock in front of the door. So it's not the first time we do the Friday morning thing. We kind of tried, the Saturday, Sunday in the past. We've tried the Friday afternoon or evening and Saturday. And so we started, I think it was in 2020. We did Friday day and Saturday during the day as well. But Friday usually is a day where, it starts slow. It's more like, soft opening and then builds at the end of the day towards the evening. And Saturday is complete madness. And I remember just telling the ushers, so the ticket takers, plus the box office guys, so, Friday morning, it's going to be okay. Don't you worry. It's going to be a progressive start because they also have to learn, the tickets and all those kind of things. And so, they have to kind of ease themselves into it. And I remember coming with like a handful of badges and walk across the SAS over there, the entry door. And I see that line that goes like all the way across the lobby, all the way, that wraps outside, that comes back. And was like, there's probably like 500 people waiting right here. And I could not, something was so wrong about it. And well, I mean, it's awesome, but I was not expecting that. And everybody was under shock. Steve just walked out too. He was like, well, what is happening? Is it for us? So yeah, I believe so. And so that was great. And it actually gave me a really good feeling. It's like the first one we had in Versailles in Kentucky, where we had said to everybody it's about 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, I don't remember. And an hour earlier, in the most freezing temperature you can imagine, you had a line of people, mostly in t-shirt, outside that was really going quite far away. And, it kind of gave me that like, oh, we're back to the source. This is great. So kudos to all those people.
Yeah, and I didn't really know, other than, so I knew that it was going to be bigger than Kansas City because it's the OG. It's the original one. It's like you said earlier, it's the community has already been built around that town. They know, and we had longer to advertise it, and then the vendors started stacking up. Steve kept sharing the vendors, and I was like, man, there's more vendors. There's even more vendors and more vendors. And then Steve told me, he said, yeah, this is the most vendors we've ever had. And I was like, wow, really? And then we started going into the chats. And then people were like, yeah, I'm going. I got my hotel room, boom. And I'm like, okay. So it's going to get big and big. And then Steve asked me one day, we were talking on the phone about something else. And he goes, so you think there's going to be a lot of YouTubers there? And I said, heck yeah. I said, the buzz is hot. Like the buzz is on fire. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's saying they're going. And everybody that said they were going, most people that said they were going showed up. And it was really overwhelming. I did not realize that all of these people were going to be there, and it was amazing.
And a lot of new channels too. And we have to I think this is wonderful, honestly. I mean, in the past, we've seen, established channels, the names who we all know, and the smaller one, and we are part of the smaller ones. I mean, to be precise, but we have so many new little channels that popped up here and there, and people are totally inspired by others, and this is awesome when you think about it. It's like we're transmitting something. It's like a tradition in some ways, but people are free that they start expressing themselves, and they start being themselves, and just like having no fear and putting themselves out there. And I've that's a major change, I think, in the sport. Everybody's becoming empowered, and from the little guys, I mean in age. I mean, there's, for example, Tim Hardwick's fiance's kids. So Tim Hardwick was, he's the guy that was behind Whisker Sticks. You may know him, and so he's, I guess, fiance's sons. Both of them are maybe high, like 3 apples, and they just started a channel at Catfish Conference this time. And I've not checked, but I mean, they acquired, I don't know, a couple of dozens of subscribers, like just almost overnight. And but that's great. And so many other people I've seen that I had never seen before. And I mean, if it's not a testament to everybody else out there, I don't know what that is. And see Hardwick Angling. There he is. I see in the comments. He created a new channel as well, team. So Hardwick Angling, go and check it out.
Go check it out. Mike, what was the highlight for you?
Well, I'm probably going to make Hervé blush, but we were sitting down for dinner.
Hang on, let's make sure he's big screen so we can see him blush. Okay.
We were sitting down for dinner. What night was that? Thursday night? No, Friday night.
It was Friday night.
Friday night, and it was Anna and Trish, Bexy, and Vonnie, and myself. And we had ordered our food, and Hervé entered alone. And I waved at him, and they were going to seat him at a table by himself. And I saw him carrying his I think it was this laptop bag. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to keep working. He's not going to sit down and enjoy his meal. And I was like, and I think to myself, I could do that, but I wouldn't want to. And if I don't want to, then I don't want anybody else to. So he walks over to say hi to us and ask us how everything was going. And before he got there, I told everybody, I was like, this table's meant to seat one more chair, isn't it? And everybody's like, my gosh, it is. There's the chair over there along the wall. I was like, okay. So I turned around and I asked George, our server, I said, hey, George, okay if we fit one more in here? And he's like, sure, why not? So we invite Hervé to sit down and have dinner with us. And we just had a delightful conversation talking about not only the conference and our first day experience, but also family and who's at home and children and dogs and everything and
who sings about Encanto, I have to say.
Yes. Trish and Bex and Vonnie broke out in song. They were singing "We Don't Talk About Bruno," and it was fantastic. We were talking about Disney movies that the kids enjoy, and Hervé and I were having our dad talk. We had one pretty good one in Kansas City, and I think that our kids are not quite the same age, but certainly we can relate. And so it was fantastic. It was really wonderful.
So the highlight for you was that dinner.
That's the example, like we were saying, the feeling of family, and you can't plan everything that happens. You cannot get everybody in the right spot at the right time.
Yeah.
But even if you show up a few minutes later, there's always space to squeeze in. So I don't know. Maybe Hervé, what did you think of the
I mean
of the dinner we should.
that's right. That's exactly what it is. And I've got an anecdote about Kansas City, and I'll come back in a second about that. But that night, indeed, I mean, it was after the dinner from the ACA. I was shot. I didn't want to drive back home, and I had a talk with Lauren. She said, "Well, just stay over there." I said, "Okay," but you feel guilty. Like I wanted to go back home, but I stayed over there. And I said, "Well, you know what? I'm just gonna work. I've got so much stuff to update, anyways. It's got to be done for the following day because there's a lot of work that goes into it for the preparation of the day after." And I was starving. I said, "Whoa!" I just walked through the corridor, and it smelled like steak. And I was like, "Wow, I gotta go get something." And I walk in there, and they said, "Well, there's a table right here." And I was about to go and sit, and I see Michael at the back. "Hello!" I said, "Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go and say hello to the crew." And by the time as you said, I arrived over there, they had added a chair, and George, the waiter, was pretty efficient at that. And George has 7 kids. I mean,
I thought it was 6.
yeah, 6 or
Yeah.
7. He was busy.
Yeah, I think that number fluctuated, Kevin.
I had a kick with that. I had a big kick with that.
But
I'll save my reasonings. Go ahead, Hervey. Sorry.
but he was a fun guy. But after, it's all the conversation, it's all that spirit of camaraderie that is around the table. And although you're sitting with perfect strangers, you all have something in common. And it's so easy to connect with everybody. Everybody's just so nice and so laid back, relaxed, and it's like if you've known people around you for like forever. And that's the really, really cool part of it. And not to mention the fact it was totally unplanned, and that spontaneity aspect is amazing. It's like the dinner we all had in Kansas City, guys. I don't know if you all remember that, but that was pretty spontaneous
I was
as well.
trying to figure out how to share those pictures. I can't get them to pop up. We have another visitor with us.
Oh, there's Chris.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
What's
Well,
going on?
Sitting here in my truck because my partner's snoring in the hotel room, so yeah, I'm gonna hang out with you guys for a minute.
I was about to send the link to Dave too, but I guess it wouldn't work, huh?
Oh man, he's snoring on his phone. His phone's been going off right there in his face, and he's passed out.
Yeah, man, you've been wearing him out with all the fishing and working, and
Yeah, he's not used to this, man, but he's been having a good time. He says he's up for another trip, so he's ready to come back next year.
good. Well, those of you who are listening on the podcast, we have Chris Flores of Muddy River Catfishing just joined us. So welcome, and you've been traveling the country on the way to the CatCon, worked the CatCon. It's packed up, and then traveled to Alabama and fished with Steve Douglas today. How was that?
Oh man, we got lots of sunset pictures, man. Yeah, it's a beautiful lake. I got lots of sunrise, sunset pictures for you guys.
So you were a photographer today?
Yeah, it was tough, man. The water was up. There was a lot of debris. We tried yesterday. Steve sent us to go catch skipjack, and he gave us a couple contacts to go meet up with us. So we went out with the Ishcombers, and they were showing us the ropes on fishing for skipjack. And man, we must have done 1,000 casts all afternoon, and none of us caught one skipjack. So Steve was pretty confident that we'd be loading ice chests full of them, and he ended up bringing some frozen stuff he had from a while back, I'd say. And
A while back.
yeah, it wasn't optimal, and the weather conditions weren't perfect. But all in all, we did start our own record label on the boat and got our first rap song out. I just messing around, having fun with friends. It was good. All in all, it was a good time.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that I saw Doc Lane was on a channel earlier, and he was talking about how hard the bait's been defined down there. So I don't think you're the only ones.
Right. Yeah,
Steve
Doc was
Douglas said we sucked.
Doc was out there. We were at Steve right away. We sucked. Doc was out there right where we were at, and he was on his boat, and I think he only caught like 5 or 10 skipjacks all day while he was out there. So yeah, we were on
Wheeler or Wilson Lake?
Wilson.
So yeah, and again, welcome, Chris. So Hervey was talking about, and I didn't want to leave that point sitting there, but Hervey was talking about Kansas City, and since we're mentioning, I saw Uncle Lou ask. Kansas City is still not decided yet on the date. It's definitely happening, but the date is going to be late October, early November, and that's because last year in November it was on the first day of rifle season. So I think we lost. We know we lost a lot of possible attendees because they were out hunting. So Hervé and Steve are working with the site to determine what a good date would be. Is that right, Hervé?
That's correct. Yes. So we're doing everything we can to avoid deer hunting season. We've heard you guys out there. We've heard you very loud. So, message received. So we're doing everything we can to relocate those dates a tiny bit before, but it's not as easy as just requesting a change of dates. You've got to be within a certain type of period. There's a lot of other shows that you have to kind of squeeze in between, and so they're working with us to find the best date, and also it's got to work for the vendors as well. So we're trying to juggle all the priorities, but basically priority number one is don't do that at the weekend we're thinking about doing it. So yeah, we've learned.
So to go off that point, and I see you, Michael, we want to say something. I just want to say one quick thing. Yeah, the Kansas City environment is so much different. It's different, but it's good. So Kansas City, unlike Louisville, you can pretty much walk anywhere you want to go. So if you stay in one of the hotels around the conference center, you park your car and you don't have to touch it again for the rest of the weekend. You can walk to the convention center. It's so nice. Tons of bathrooms, very clean. And ask me about bathrooms later, but yeah. So it's very different atmosphere. And what Hervé was talking about is we were going to dinner, and we were picking up. Hey, we're going to dinner. You want to go? Yeah. And then the line just kept stacking on, and on, and on. And Hervé sent me a picture, and I'm trying to figure out how to get it. I'll put it up as soon as I figure it out. But there's a whole line behind Hervé, and it takes a picture, and there's like 20 of us. And we just went and we owned this restaurant. I think it was like Thursday or Friday night. It was so much fun because, although you couldn't talk to everybody as you were eating, when you were finished, you pop up and go talk to this person here, and then go over here and talk to this person, and you really get to know people as opposed to Louisville, where you have to pretty much drive anywhere you wanted to go. So I think that's the big difference between Kansas City and Louisville. Mike?
No, I was going to try to put Hervé on the hot seat a little bit there. Questions about Kansas City, even though the date isn't set. Do you mentioned vendors? Do you already have vendor commitments despite the fact that there is no date set, like committed to come?
Yes. So I can't really mention who yet, but the majority of the vendors and most, if not all of that, the ones that you have seen in 2021 will come back. And again, those events are really important in the kind of life cycle of the vendors. So normally they kind of stick with you once you're able to help them in their quest to grow and sustain their own families. So we have a lot of commitments yet, and it's more some sort of loyalty for Catfish Conference more than the location and the dates themselves. And that's just, there's no word to describe that. This is really great.
Now, I did notice in Louisville that there were still a few that appeared to maybe be embracing the supply chain challenges.
Mhm.
But there were several that looked like they had an abundance of product available. How do you feel, generally speaking, about the vendors that you've been in contact with? Do you feel that's improving? Do you feel that it's here and there? How do you feel about that?
It's improving. It is improving. Most of them have received some, or if not all, of their shipments, and they already placed orders. Which now you're kind of looking into a 6 months horizon if you are basically getting your goods through container. And some of the vendors are also switching to getting their things through airplane instead of boat. So it's costing them way more,
Mhm.
but that's also a way to get your stuff way quicker and be able to guarantee your clients that they are going to get what they want to buy, and that's been the problem. So I think it's they kind of rebalance the way they import products if it's not made in the US, and yeah, that everybody learns. Everybody learns. But again, it comes at a price, right? It's way more expensive. They can eat some. I mean, it's eating some of their margin, but it's also something that's passed along to the customer. And Chris, I mean, Chris, you have your rod lines. I mean, you can tell us how this went for you, because you also had a quite an experience with importing goods.
Yeah, it was tough. I was because of that I wasn't able to make um, the Kansas City show, but I did get my goods in, my rods for this show, and um, I didn't even on my way to sale yet, so I can make sure I had an inventory for the show. And as far as sales went, it's excellent. Uh, all the community always supportive of each other and forever grateful for that. It was an amazing show. To recommend to anybody who hasn't gone, and you will always support the Captain.
You're breaking up just a little bit, but I think we all heard what you were saying. You couldn't get your inventory in for the Kansas City show, and when you got it in, those of you who didn't hear, he said that he didn't even put it on his website. He gave
Mhm.
some to some of his wholesalers, and then brought everything to CatCon to make sure that all of his loyal customers got a chance to buy some. So, and he said he'll always support Catfish Conference. Chris, maybe if you try going out and coming back in, it might help you.
So
Um, but yeah, that I think that's awesome. And I also heard, um, I didn't hear. I probably did a little bit of what Hervé does, without being asked, just because I was curious. I was going around and talking to the vendors and just asking them how business was, and I was very surprised on Friday that they were very surprised on Friday.
Mhm.
And for instance, one of our friends, Daniel Rimmer from Never Lost Anchors, sold out of his anchors. He sold every single one he brought. So he had to go home Friday and make more anchors, paint them so that he'd have more to bring back on Saturday because he wasn't expecting them to sell out. Um, and that right there is a testament to how many people came out and how ready people were to get some product. I know Tackle Bandit had a line that was probably 30 yards long the whole time. Those poor ladies at the register just had to stand there the whole time. They didn't stop. They're all right, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
They were busy. They were booking.
Yeah, they're really busy. Do you have any stats from like vendors? What did you hear from them, Hervé?
For a major part of them, they were all really, really happy. And of course, Friday, as I said earlier, Friday normally is like the warm up day. So you do something, but usually it's about, I'd say, a third of what you would do, over the overall period of a catfish conference. But this time, Friday almost was bigger than most catfish conference 2 days in the past.
Wow.
And so we really went through the sky for some of the numbers and some of the vendors. And again, we don't, we hear the feedback, but it's not some numbers that we verify. So we have to to be cautious with that. That's on their side. But some of them pass 6 figures, and it represents a major amount of income for the year for the companies that are there. I mean, it's a lot of product that walks out the door. It's a lot of product. And again, it's perhaps the fact that we haven't had an event in 2 years, so people saved and we're waiting for it, or simply because there are more products now available in the market, and people have taken that habit of just waiting a second, going to the event, and wanting to see the product in their hands. They want to see it, they want to feel it, they want to know how it works. I mean, it speaks all the word you want. I mean, you need to have it in your hand to make a decision. And perhaps that choice that you have out there, inspired people to buy more at, just buy more in general.
Well, Mike, I know you've seen it in the past 2 years, COVID time. You've seen the YouTube community grow. I mean, I've come in myself. You've seen products get introduced that never were there, and then COVID hit, and we couldn't go to CatCon to experience those. We couldn't go to CatCon to meet the new people. Do you agree with Hervé, Mike, that that's probably one of the big reasons that it was so big?
Oh, I definitely would agree with that. And like you had mentioned earlier that there was I think you said an allure, and I like the word. And I too knew that 2 years ago I would have opted not to go, even if it were there. I would have been like, guys, I'm gonna sit this one out. I'm just gonna wait to see what this stuff is that's going on out there. And then having gone through the virtual one, and then later on having the opportunity to go to Kansas City, I knew I had to go. I pushed it off. I said, oh, I'm not gonna drive 10 hours. No. And then it wasn't there. And then the opportunity showed up 3 hours from my house, or 2.5 hours, whatever it was, from my house. And I'm like, yep, I'm going. And as soon as I got the taste that I got in Kansas City, I knew I needed the taste of Kentucky. And I was not wrong. I was not wrong. That was a fantastic event. It was a fantastic location. I definitely agree that we need some hammocks or some couches or benches of some sort, and
We do have a channel called
foot
Hooks and
massage
Hammocks.
vendor, and or some sort of I don't know, electro stimulating socks or something to help recondition our legs. Chris even said it too. He's like, your feet are going to be killing you. I'm like, nah, I'm fine, But some people wanted carpet. It's like, well, that's great and all, but I'm a warehouse supervisor, so I'm used to the concrete. So maybe that's why I got along better than other people did, because I'm used to this stuff. But
that is one thing we missed. Trish just brought up in chat that the only thing I missed about virtual CatCon was the stink bait test.
Oh, that was awesome. Those guys are cool guys.
And those of you listening, if you don't know what we're talking about, so in 2021, there was no Catfish Conference, which is what Mike just alluded to. So we did the first ever virtual conference, and we had the vendors come up and do a 15-minute spotlight on their products, and they had great codes and free shipping and things like that. Well, Rippin' Lips, the owners of Rippin' Lips, came up, and Hervé actually challenged Doug to eat stink bait. In return, Hervé or CatCon would buy 10 Rippin' Lips rods. And at first they weren't going to do it. And then it just kept going on, and we kept egging them on. And all of a sudden, they pick up the dip bait and unscrew the lid, and they hold it up, and we're like, "Oh, is this gonna happen?" Meanwhile, I had another vendor in the basement ready to go. And I was like, "Well, they're just gonna have to wait a second." And all of a sudden, Doug sticks his finger in there and just boop, puts it in his mouth and goes to town.
That was a big scoop with that finger.
It was
It's
called
He
Stinky
hooked a
Cheese.
big old scoop of it.
heroic. He did fantastic. Very proud of him, really, truly.
And then I ruined Chris's prank.
You called me out, man.
Yeah, the peanut butter one. Come on, Chris.
Chris came up later, and he had some peanut butter that said stink bait on it, and we weren't falling for that. But I broke the bro code on that one. I gave it away.
Yeah.
So one of the I'm going to talk about my highlight. The highlight for me was obviously the Golden Whiskers. Mike and I kind of came up with the idea. Mike came up with the idea, and Mike and I took it, to the next level, and definitely thanks to Tom for naming it the Golden Whiskers. But I never thought, from that day, which was, not too long ago, a little over a year ago when we first started doing it or talking about it, that it would ever be at CatCon. At this time, neither of us had talked to Steve or Chris or Hervé or anybody about Catfish Conference and the Golden Whiskers. So to have the Golden Whiskers the second year in existence at Catfish Conference was pretty darn cool, in my mind. And it was an honor to be up there on stage, even though people were making fun of my suit. But but I thought it was jamming. But
suit
anyway,
was perfect.
I thought it went the only, of course I'm going to notice everything that's wrong with it. One of my microphones went out, my lapel mic went out, but thankfully everybody on at home still heard most of it. But I thought it was great. The energy in the room was amazing. Steve came up to me later and he said, "Man, did you hear all them screaming and hollering?" I was like, "Yeah, I was in front of them. It was awesome." And he was getting jazzed about everybody's energy, and oh man, you just felt the excitement. We had small YouTubers there, we had subscribers, we had vendors sitting in there, we had professional anglers in the audience, we had YouTube legends like Chris Flores in there, we had Steve Douglas sitting there, and Dieter, and catfish and fishing and stuff. And I mean, you just had a little bit of everybody there, and it was almost like it was a macro. It was the catfish community all together, little bits and pieces of every facet of it. And I don't know if people realize that, but there was, the small YouTubers, the big ones, the owners of CatCon, YouTube legends, vendors, professional anglers. I mean, you had everybody there.
It was everybody. That's the thing. It's everybody.
Everybody was there to see it. And I think that now that it's been presented at CatCon, not only do I have my work cut out for me for next year, but I think it's going to be even bigger. And I think we're going to have to expand the seating space.
We definitely need more seating. And again, you said something about, you notice all the details or the things that you thought were, needed adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
But what people saw, and I'll speak on behalf of everybody there, was, someone that took the initiative to make the community even better with something totally new. And that's what it's all about, right? That's the inspiration. And I think people are extremely supportive of that. And that's the feedback you got. And it's not just like one silo within the catfishing space. It's everybody. And that's where you see that everybody's so tight, and that's the cool part of it. And we thank you for having done that, because you've done an excellent job.
Thank you.
It was really excellent.
Well, and I want to say that even though I'm the face of the Golden Whiskers and I hosted it, I couldn't have done it without this guy up here, that guy right there, and this guy right here, and this guy right here, and Steve,
And
and
Steve, that's in the chat on that side over
yeah,
here.
and
There we
and
go.
look, not only that, but we had people that recommended new categories. Lyle Stokes recommended a category. We had, an international channel. Chris is the one that suggested the female angler of the year. And kind of said, that needs to be there. And I was like, I agree. Let's do it. And even this year, I've gotten more suggestions on how to make it even better. Um, Next year, we're going to have, or starting now, I'm on the search right now for a nomination committee. And, I haven't asked our other buddy, Tom, but the three creators of it are on the committee, but I need 7 more committee members. And I don't want people like me. I want people opposite of me to be on the committee so that we can nominate videos. And I think everyone who won this year definitely deserved to win. I don't think there anybody didn't deserve to win, but I think we could have a better pool of nominees overall if we have a group of 10 people really concentrating and all year long finding those amazing video clips
Mhm.
to put out there. What do you think about that, Chris? I don't want to put you on the spot, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree, man. I think there's probably, like you're saying, there's more content out there that hasn't been discovered, and of course, there's new YouTube channels coming out all the time. So it's if you could have a committee that's dedicated to looking for that new talent, absolutely, it'll just help grow the community. And you're doing an excellent job, man. By the way, on the Golden Whiskers thing, man. Like Hervé was saying, it brought something new. It's grown the community and brought us closer in a way, I guess. Um, Something out of the box that I'm sure we would have never thought of, right? But we need fresh minds like you, man. So props to you. Thank you so much.
Mm.
Chris is absolutely right there too. One thing that I want to tack on to what Kevin said and what Hervé said was that this is collaboration.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people in YouTube look at it as if it's some sort of a competition or a contest or it's territorial. And, they have their shows and their show's going to be run their way. And they try to, get this guest before anybody else, or, you know, um, somebody catches a gigantic fish and they want them on their show as soon as possible, which may be 2 or 3 days from then. And I understand exclusivity. I understand timing. I understand all that. But look at what Chris just said. You're talking about, you're hearing words from a man who is a YouTube creator, quite possibly, the one of the three originals in my view.
Well, he's
Who
a certified legend.
he started the fire, and then you add to that he is a businessman selling a tremendous product, tremendous product line, but yet he knows together we can all achieve more.
Mm.
Hervé knows that. Kevin knows that. So many of us know that. But even then, it's not just about that too. It's about the feeling, because part of me felt bad when I pitched Kevin the idea, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to give this guy so much work. But
It was
I
a joke at
thought
first.
I give people the idea if I think they're the right person for it.
Mm.
And I throw ideas all over the place. And sometimes they stick, and sometimes the people are like, nah, man, that's not going to work, and it's true. I bet I don't even bat 500. I'm more like 750, 850. No, I'm just kidding. But it is about the collaboration. Think about it. I've been watching uh chicken liver chum bait. How many years ago was that, Chris? 9,
Probably like
10
9.
years ago. And then you got all the way through to when you said it was the last time you thought you were going to get to fish with Isa, and everything in between. And here we are. We're having fun. It's changing. It's ever changing, and we're enjoying it. We're embracing all of it. So,
And perhaps something you just said, the feeling of collaboration, or that fundamental aspect of what we're doing, and that's mostly driven publicly by YouTube. So people expect that from the public, and YouTubers and anglers, but it goes beyond that. Truly, I mean, we see it from the business perspective because we're in touch with all the vendors. So on a commercial standpoint as well, although it's not really publicized, or it's really kept on the down low, a lot of the vendors now talk to each other. We talk to them, they talk to us. We kind of put people in touch as well. And the same spirit you see on YouTube for that collab in general is starting to really unfold as well for the vendors. And one has a problem, you help, and vice versa. And that is a major change as well. And that's also one of the reasons why the sport is growing faster than anything else out there. It's because we're stronger together, but as an ecosystem, as a full 360 type of approach, just not one side putting way above on one side.
Say it again. Say it again.
It's a community. We're a group. We're growing faster. There we go.
Yeah, I agree with everything everybody said. And I just being in front of people is something that I do for a living. So I'm not going to say that I'm any better than anybody else at doing that. I'm used to it. But being in front of a crowd of people that are there for that one purpose and have that energy makes it so easy. And I can't wait. I've already been brainstorming. I know everybody else has, just thinking things are popping about things that we can do differently. And I think that Hervé and Steve are really smart. Finding new ways to build excitement in the Catfish Conference. I mean, they're going from being the only show in town to having competition, and then adding a new Catfish Conference, and then talking about CatCon at the beach, which I'm not going to let Hervé off the hook on that one. I'm going to let him talk about that in a second.
I thought you had forgotten the question. I was like, yes.
To having YouTubers having a big booth and really driving the show, to having a CatCon crew to make videos to build interest, to having the Golden Whiskers there. And I just I think it's really smart that it's really easy. It's really easy to get stuck in our old ways, right? It's really easy to say we've always done it this way, so we're always going to do it that way. And although that that mindset could work in some situations, it's usually a recipe for a dying something, right? We say it in education all the time. We have teachers that refuse to, learn new ways of doing things. The kids change, but the mode of giving the instruction doesn't. So there's going to be a disconnect. There's going to be problems. The mode of Catfish Conference, the people change, the products change. So if you always do what you always done, you're always going to get what you always got. And so I think that's super smart. And I'm glad and thankful and blessed to be able to work alongside with people that see that. And I don't know. I'm going to keep rambling because I'm excited. I'm excited about the next one.
Well, it's accidental. It's part. Steve is the brain of the operation. I'm just there to help. But I mean, I think perhaps something Steve and I we share. We hate routine, right? We need something new all the time, so we're always talking about like some crazy stuff, and we hate doing the same stuff we just did because it becomes kind of boring. So we are always looking for that next, the what next question. But at the same time, we're also pretty unorganized when we organize Catfish Conference. So it really results into something that works, but it's accidental. So it kind of, it kind of gives a different feel each time, which is great. I think it ends up working pretty good for us. But again, we don't take credits for that. It just happens because of our own bad habits. So if someone wants to copy us out there, you're gonna find it very hard to do the same.
Yeah, because I agree. I just had this conversation with my boss, my principal, and I said, the difference between our school and other schools that are like us, we make a difference because our team is strong. Our team is a well-oiled machine, and the fact that we respect each other and can feed off each other and allow each other to have input makes us a better team than the other team. So, it translates to everything. I mean, Mike's a warehouse manager. I can guarantee you he agrees with me. He just has to deal with, a bunch of adult people instead of little people. But, and then Chris, he owns two businesses and has a family, and nothing would get three businesses. Sorry, I didn't even know about that.
I was going to do it for you. I was like, I think I know of at least 3.
I own like 4. I got 4 or 5 jobs. He's the Jamaican lady off of In Living Color. How many jobs you got? Anyway, Steve said we all get or did. That's right.
That's right.
All right, so let's hear from Hervé.
CatCon at the
CatCon
beach.
at the beach. Is that going to be a thing? Ever?
There's a
or is it
rumor
just
out there.
is it
There's a
just
rumor out there. No, so I mean, I love the concept of having a CatCon at the beach. I mean, we talked about the different environments, which we've been, right? So there's, Louisville, that's what it is. It's kind of like, the home turf. And then you have, Kansas City, which has a totally different feel. And we came with the concept of why not doing something like at the beach? I mean, it's like part of life. People enjoy themselves. It's a totally different angle. And I believe people would come still over there. And even if they didn't, we'd have fun for, whoever wants to come.
Mm-hmm.
So we are looking into it. That and another location. That's more in the south. Now it's more a matter of where and when to place those events throughout the year, and it's also for the vendors to be ready to absorb one new event on top of that.
I think that's the hard part.
It's hard. I mean, you got to remember these guys also have families. They also have, for most of them, a full-time job. So each time they come to a Catfish Conference event, they got to take off like 3-4 days, maybe 5 days. There's
2 weeks, like Chris.
There's all the prep before, but if you also look at, they are going to flush some inventory through the event. That means they also have to invest even more before, and it's can be very costly to get that inventory, ready for an event that's like 3 or 4 months in advance. So you're really tying up a lot of cash sometimes for a smaller company or even some individuals, and even the bigger companies. It's because it's proportional to the amount of sales you have, but the problem remains the same. Having that cash flow to be able to do that is a complex thing. So we're working, with everybody to really understand if it's feasible and truly feasible without putting a strain on their families. And if it is, great. But it's also our job to take that into consideration and to help them build what they're doing right now until the point where it's healthy for everybody to do it, and we don't put pressure on anybody. It's got to be the right timing for all.
Yeah, I agree. It's a chess match. I mean, I'm sure Chris could speak to that. What he was talking to me, Chris and I were talking on the phone about how long he had to start preparing for this one. You want to share a little bit about that, Chris?
Oh man,
I mean, getting the trailer ready and
Yeah, so just because I have multiple jobs or um it just takes my time. I'm so divided on my time that it's hard to dedicate enough of it to each individual one when it needs it. For example, one of the things that I get complimented on are my fishing rods, and that they're the eyes aren't bent and there's this and that. Well, I go through each rod personally and make sure that they're perfect before I even load them in the trailer. The other thing that did take a little bit of time that wasn't typical was the building of those display stands that I made for the fishing rods, and then just other stuff. I had to. I mean, that trailer's been sitting there for a year, so I had to put new tires on it, grease the bearings, do all that stuff. So yeah, I ended up taking, I think, almost a little over 2 weeks off of my contracting job just to prepare for CatCon and make sure everything was where it needed to be. But I wouldn't trade it for the world, man. I love being at that show.
Yeah, and it's just I wanted you to talk about that because that's something people may not even realize is, oh, yeah, I didn't think about the trailer maintenance
Mhm.
and the quality control aspect of it, especially for a smaller company.
Right,
If you have a company that has 6 or 7 people working at it, you can delegate the jobs a little more. Like, hey Mike, go grease the wheels, and you know, Hervé, go check the eyes on the rods, and I'll do
right,
this. Meanwhile, trying to sell rods online, ship shirts, all that stuff. So
right.
And it takes a second for brands to take off. And I mean, Chris, you're one of the perfect examples for it. But not only you, I mean, a majority of the vendors we have today at Catfish Conference, they started 5 6 years ago. I mean, they had a small 10 by 10. It was all like one guy or a lady in the basement somewhere doing something because they had the passion. But building those businesses, which some of them are, they're pretty large. It's multi-million-dollar businesses now. um, they've done it right, but it's a lot of constraint. And I can never stress that enough. Business owners, I mean, it's the worst position you can really think about. It's great when it succeeds, but it is so tiring. And I have so much respect for every one of them, because the family life takes a big hit on that. When everybody's in bed, like they are right now, they keep on working. They keep on working and packing the orders and shipping the orders and doing all those things, and the ordering, the accounting, and the website, and this and that, the shipping. I mean, you have a list of things that's so, like, it never ends. And it's something that preoccupies you because you also have the financial aspect. You put your family on the line for these kind of things. It's not just because you think you're going to make money. You're not making real money. You're fueling a passion, if you will, until you come to a point where it's really large and you can tap into different type of markets, which might be more lucrative. But in the meantime, they deserve so much respect, because it's almost like a public service that they are giving the community, truly.
yeah, that's so true. It's on a smaller level. It's like YouTube. Uh, you see the super chats, or you see the people talking about ad revenue, but I guarantee you that everybody that has a channel in this chat and on the screen, unless they're getting thousands and hundreds of thousands of views every show or every video, they're putting in more than they're getting out of it. So definitely fueling that passion, and that doesn't make good business sense. But if you're doing what you love and love what you do, I was waiting for Chris to start singing
I can
karaoke.
make a living out of
There you
loving
go. People were talking about karaoke at the next one, Chris. What do you think?
If I can get Chris 2.0 to stand at my booth for a little while, I would be happy to host karaoke for you guys.
Well, hey man, you got Dave trained. I mean,
It's just Man, these shows are insane. I mean, like I've got people left and right, and I try my best to give attention to every single person that comes to my booth, shake their hand, say hello, talk a little bit. There's so
So
many
you're
people that
saying
want
you
to
would
come.
give your karaoke fans the attention that they want.
Yeah, because I'm gonna get up on that stage and I'm gonna be, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we got Murillo up next. Let's get him up here. He's gonna do my Maria.
Mama Marie. I bet. And Hervey's a businessman. He's always thinking of new ways to increase revenue. I mean, charge $5 for a chance to get up there and win a karaoke medal.
We'll figure something out.
Karaoke Friday night.
I mean, you've already got the stage there, right?
You already got the stage. You already got the sound system. I mean,
Yeah.
just saying.
There was, yeah. Let's speak about options.
I'm seeing another show title pop into my head now.
Uh-oh.
I'm scared.
Oh man, that's so much fun.
Hey,
Well,
so
y'all
let's go back to the beach thing for one question.
okay.
Hervé, you're the only one who'd know this, I think. Logistically, do you think that CatCon at the beach is a location that the vendors would find equally as attractive as Kansas City and Louisville? Or is it a further hike for them?
It's a further hike, but if you plan the 3 events together, it's even for all at the end of the day, right? I mean, one might be shorter to your home than the other one, and one of them is going to be a big stretch, and perhaps you can do the biggest trip because it's really too costly overall to do it. But you're still going to have about 2/3 of your vendors that are able to do it. I believe so. And after it's our job to go and pick up people that are closer than can make it, or perhaps to advertise it in such a way where it's going to be worth for everybody. And if it's not just in direct sales, it's going to be in brand awareness. So, but so far vendors have been very good at trusting us and following the buzz. And I think that's where I think YouTube has a big role to play, is to help us establish new presences in communities where we don't have the same reach.
Yeah, I think also like an East Coast beach type event would allow you to draw in different types of vendors. Because catfishermen are catfishermen, but how many of us fish multi-species? You could bring in different vendors. It would also bring in opportunities for people to do charters on the East Coast, saltwater fishing. There's a lot of different family type things to do on the East Coast. It could draw vacationers in. Vendors could, if it was the right time of year, plan their vacations around that one, so they could be with their family. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different possibilities depending on the time, and the timing is is one of the harder parts too.
Exactly.
Picking a time to do it.
It's a strange balance, but again, we're getting there, and it's not going to be in 2022. I can already say that.
Yeah.
If we do something 2023, and that would be an idea again.
So we can count on CatCon Kansas City at the end of November, end of October, beginning of November. So if you're interested in finding out more about that, make sure that you're subscribed to the Catfish Conference YouTube channel. Keep checking back here on Palmetto Cats. Check out Muddy River Catfishing and Murillo's Family Fishing and the Real Deal Podcast. We'll be getting information out on all those channels. Also, the catfishconference.com, Catfish Conference Facebook page is where most of the information goes out. check out those venues or those communication sources, and I'm sure that that date will be rounding up soon in November. I mean, it's already March.
It's gonna creep on us
It's
really, really
already
fast.
March. It's gonna come fast. Um, and you don't want, if you want to make that, like I said, Kansas City is a different feeling. Um, and it's something that you need to experience, I think.
I definitely think this time we should book an entire restaurant. I think we already had half of the restaurant, but this time we need to go the step above and do like the Catfish Conference dinner, but like the dinner of the year. Like 100 people, more 150, and do something that's really, really, really cool.
That sounds awesome.
And think about it, guys, too. I mean, a lot of you travel to these events. And so we always work with a partner hotel. And Kevin, you were there, so you know how cool it was. But in that case, we're at the Crown Plaza. And I believe we're going to work with them once again, which is exactly about 10 boats away, basically from the conference center. Like you can really walk over there. So you drop the car, you forget about your car for a couple of days, and you can walk to the center, and you can walk back to the hotel, and then you can walk back to the restaurant that's just a block down, and you have some really, really great restaurants. I mean, Kansas City is really cool. I mean, it's a really cool city. Enjoyed it very much. There we
Here's
go.
the picture we were trying to put up earlier. I was muted. This is just right there to the corner, but if you look around the corner, there's more people coming down. And it's just, that's how it was all weekend. It was just a line of people going to dinner together, whether you were going axe throwing or or to the burger joint or whatever.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Steve Douglas said, "Fun times."
Even
Well,
Steve, he's not a city guy. He doesn't really like city too much, but he had a lot of fun.
I think so too. Freddie asked if there'd be a YouTube merch area at Kansas City.
Yeah, of course.
There
And
you go.
Freddie's a good guy.
Yeah, I got Freddie's hat on right now. Freddie's the one that Freddie and Chris tried to make me cry like a baby up on the stage, but it didn't do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, y'all, I think
I cried
we're
for
an
you.
hour and 26 minutes into the podcast. I just want to thank everybody that came and was in the chat with us tonight. And you could have had other things to do, but you decided to come hang out with us, and we appreciate it. And I had a blast. So let's go through final thoughts. Chris, final thoughts about CatCon 2022, and what are you looking forward to for Kansas City?
Final thoughts. All in all, it was an amazing show. I want to thank you guys for voting me Legend of the Year. That was amazing. True honor to receive that award. One thing that I did want to say, you were asking when I was jumping in here, what was your highlight
Oh yeah,
of the trip? And I didn't get my shot at that, but I'm going to jump
my
in
bad.
and
Go
answer
ahead.
it anyways. I kind of threw that around and asked the people around me after the show was done. I asked my family and everybody, and I even asked Dave and stuff. And some had said that the Legend Award would probably be it. And even though I am truly honored and humbled by it, that was not it. And someone else had said maybe giving the boat away because that was a cool thing. I said no, that's not it. Issa said me seeing her pregnant belly, knowing that I'm going to be a grandpa and getting to actually experience that, that had to be it. And although I really appreciated that, and of course I
Careful,
enjoyed
thin
it,
line here, thin line.
it wasn't it. The one moment that made this whole conference for me, and I had said that I would, had I known this beforehand, I would have drove straight over here. If that was the only thing that I could have done, I would have drove straight over here, done that, and gone straight back, and have been perfectly happy with the outcome. And that was, I was going 100 miles an hour, had my booth going, people coming at me left and right, wanting to meet me, talk to me, people buying stuff, and this gentleman comes up with his wife, and he introduces himself, and he says he's a big fan of my YouTube channel, and he's been watching it for years. And he pulled me aside, and he said he wanted my help. He wanted to know if I could help him. He felt that I was the one that could help him because he hadn't found anybody that can help him with this problem. Well, he went on to say he showed me he had a prosthetic limb, and he says when I go fishing, I take all my rigs they're pre-tied, and we go out and we fish, but then I get hung up sometimes, and I break off, and I can't figure out how to snell a hook with my prosthetic limb. And he kind of caught me off guard, you know. I mean, I have so much going on that my mind's in a certain mode. So when I got presented with this problem to solve, I had to come back to another level of thought process. And so I was kind of there, kind of thinking about it. We're kind of doing a couple things, and he's trying to get it. He can't really get it. And I kind of come up with a solution, but it's not really working. And he says, "Well, I appreciate you trying." And I said, "Man, I'm sorry." I said, I wish I could come up with something better." And he leaves. And I get back to what I'm doing. Show, boom, boom, boom. And then show's over. I go to my hotel room, dog tired, take a shower, go to sleep. Well, the way my mind works, 2 a.m, I wake up and I'm like, I got it. Like, I don't know if I'm going to see him again or not, but I figured it out. Maybe I can figure out how to get a hold of him. So I go to the show and I start setting up the next morning, and lo and behold, he walks up. And I said, just the person I'm looking for. Get over here. I go to my trailer and I actually have some tackle and stuff. And I pull out a hook and some line. And I said, hold it this way and do it like this. And sure enough, he was able to tie that snell knot. And he was so happy, so happy. And it was just a beautiful moment that I could, you know, help somebody who believed in me, that I could help them that way and keep them fishing.
That's an awesome story, man. It's
So
really,
yeah,
really
that
cool.
was the highlight of my CatCon 2022.
Well, this is really, really cool. And it shows you again the importance of just being yourself and just like keep on keeping on, you know, everybody, not only you, but everybody with their YouTube channels, because I think that you connect, and you as a collective, you connect with people on different level, different opportunities, different thought processes, different origins, nationality. I mean, you name it. You connect with everybody, and that story just, you know, makes the whole thing worth, you know.
Mm. That's really cool, man. I mean, that's hard to follow. Hervé, follow it. Well, final thoughts, Hervé, and maybe something you're looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to being again all of us together, and keep on growing all those friendships and just extending, you know, the catfishing hospitality to everybody out there, and again, just like being back together with the whole catfishing family. That's my highlights, and of course, like keep having ideas like you brought with the golden whiskers, and you know, all the hammocks and everything else that you guys can think about. Just like drop everything, allow us to be spontaneous and bring something cool to the next event. You're doing the work, I'm just there, but you guys do the hard work of thinking the new things.
Mike?
Well, I started coughing, so I chomped down 2 cough drops real quick, and I'll try to get this out before I start coughing again. The coughing actually made my right eye tear a little bit, and then Chris just kept it flowing right there. You know, we love you, Chris, but my goodness, you have a heart probably bigger than the United States, man. That is
Thank you, brother.
amazing. Amazing story. Thank you for sharing it. I'm looking forward to continuing the collaboration. Like Hervé said, a few people have reached out with some great ideas. My sister has some ideas, Trish, and other than that, two things have happened in consecutive CatCons that weren't necessarily planned, but it both of them focused on supporting youth angling, which is important to everybody, whether it's supporting your own children in their angling or whether it's supporting other children in their angling. And what happened at this last CatCon, we were Steve brought somebody over, said, "Hey, here's my friend." And I'm horrible with names. Once I say, "Hey, I'm Mike," boom, I forgot your name. So I forgot his name, and the worst part is he had a team jersey with his name right on his shirt, and I still can't remember his name. But the rod company that he's sponsored by wanted to get rid of 17 rods, and Steve is like, "Hey, I'm not going to do it over the PA, but my buddy here knows how to support youth angling, so I'm going to stick you with Mike. Mike, you take care of him. Show him how we do it." So I again got to stop families with youth anglers and walking around and tell them that I work for the Catfish Conference, and in conjunction with our friends here, we want to support youth angling. Would you be willing to accept a free rod today? And this gentleman would hold the rod tip just out of the rod sock, and he'd be like, "Come on, take this rod out of there." And about halfway through that pile of rods, he had 17 rods. About halfway through that pile of rods, he's standing there. He wouldn't even look at me. He's talking. He said, "This is really amazing." He's like, "I can't believe this amazing feeling." He's like, "And you did this before?" I said, "It's okay, man." I was like, "Soak it all in. You might not feel this good the rest of the weekend." I was like, because looking at these little kids just explode with emotion. And the last girl was literally jumping up and down as she made her way to him to accept the free rod. And halfway there, she turned around and she asked her dad if it was really happening. She said, "Dad, is this really real?" And he said, "Yes, honey. They want to give you that rod." He's like, "You just got to smile, let them take your picture and say yes, accept the rod." And she held that rod and her fists were just clenched, and she's looking up at the ceiling, and both of her parents, in a day and age right now where people don't embrace people that they don't know, both of them just kind of grabbed my forearm and reached out, and they're just like, "Thank you so much for this. You just made her year." And she walked away, and when she turned, she nearly took my head off with that rod. I had to go backwards to get out of the way. But
Pretty
that
cool.
that was just incredible. And when the guy left, he just said, "Thank you for this," and just turned and walked away. Went back to the booth where his team was. But yeah, it was incredible. We're
So
gonna do
why
that again.
that's why it's so important. Like every person we meet is just to be the best version of you that you can be. And I mean, you can't be expected to be any more than you are, but to be the best version of you. And I think that's kind of like my closing mark is like I enjoyed taking pictures of my friends, and all of you are my friends, but taking pictures of people, yeah, like that Chris's picture, that was crazy. Um, but yeah, taking pictures of my friends, uh, you know, hugging each other, giving away stickers, meeting fans, and seeing that the joy they bring, to other people walking around. You don't realize how much value someone has until you see the reaction someone else has when they talk to them. You know, um, and I don't mean value like they're not a person or anything. Don't take me the wrong way. I mean like you don't realize how valuable they are to the person that's coming up to them until you see the reaction on their face. And for instance, I'll say Has Life. For instance, I was standing by him for a good part of Saturday, in between running back and forth to the stage, and there was people coming over and over, and asking for his autograph, and smiling kids were hugging him, and grown women were hugging him, and grown men were hey, that's Has Life, and I just smiled. I was like, that's awesome, man. Like, he has had an effect on people,
Mhm.
such a positive effect on people, that just his presence with them makes them happy and smile. And I love that, and I love that you saw so much of that, not just with Has, but Chris and everybody else that was there. And I even was humbled, you know, many times, of people that said, "Hey, Kevin," just walking by me. I'm like, I've never met that person in my life. I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And
Mhm.
hey, Kevin, hey, what's going on? I felt like, hey, yeah, we're part of the crew here, and some people didn't want to stop. It's just like, hey, Kevin, and just kept walking. And some people stopped and wanted to talk, and I just think that was awesome. So I'm looking forward to CatCon Kansas City, because Hervé and I have talked, Steve and I have talked. We're gonna have some awesome updates and changes, and uh, new things happening. I can't wait for everybody to see it, and I can't wait to see everybody's face again. So that's about it, y'all. I think we're gonna wrap it up, unless somebody else got anything they want to add.
Good deal. We're
Uh,
tired.
Yeah, me too.
I was just going to say that I mentioned to a few people that this isn't the beginning. We're in the middle here. We're far from the end. You know, I know several of these people. I fully intend on trying to be their friend, and the best friend I can be to them. Till my last day. So this is the journey continues from here. This wasn't an ending by any means. So
Gotcha.
It's the
I'm looking
handshake.
forward to it. I'm
It's
looking
the
forward to it.
handshake.
It's the handshake. Well, on that note, let's pray out. Heavenly Father, we thank you for an awesome event. We just thank you for all the fantastic feelings and people and uh, experiences we all got to have. And we just know you were blessing it. And we just thank you for everybody being safe and getting there and back safely. And we just pray that you would bless everybody in chat and up on screen, and that you would continue to bless the Catfish Conference, and bringing people together. Because although conferences is people are buying things and trading things, the real joy is being around each other and the camaraderie that it brings. So we thank you for that. We lift up your name. Amen.
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 All right, y'all. Well, you know the deal. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, those of you on YouTube. Till next time, happy fishing.